Hello, welcome to DreamSpire TV, where we bring you the brightest, the best, and what's happening now in entertainment news. Today we have with us Steve Harris. You might know him from The Practice, or a lot of other things, but he is here today to talk about his role in the Starz series, Black Family Mafia, and the role that he plays as a detective, and maybe he'll give us some inside scoop of what's going on with this very interesting story based on a true story. So let's bring him in right now. How are you today, Mr. Harris?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I cannot complain. You know what? I'm topside, so that's
okay.
Good.
That's it. That's enough, right?
Yeah. So it always interests me when I read people's bios, because you think you might know the actor or the characters, and then I read like, wow, I didn't know you did this and you did that. And now it's funny because I was on Instagram and someone said, when did you find out that Wood Harris was related to you, that you guys were brothers? So I thought that was ironic, or I think that
it seems like a lot of people didn't know that and continue to not know that. It's interesting to me. But yeah, we're brothers, mom and dad the same, the whole 9 yards. It's been we've both been blessed to have been appreciated by our community and have these kind of careers that we have thus far. And I'm glad that people are really, hopefully, that I'm glad that people really enjoy what we do and kind of respect what we do. And I'm very appreciative, and I know he is as well.
That's good. My sisters, we do something in the arts, and a lot of them, I posted some pictures because a lot of people don't even know we're related. So I definitely get it. So tell me about this role. Did you know anything about the characters that this was based on before you took the role?
Yes, I did. BMF, the Black Mafia family story, I known because they were in the 90s and late 80s and 90s. They were, well, really the 90s. They were really visible, for lack of a better term. And they were running around in a lot of, if you go to certain clubs, you go to certain parties, you go to certain things, you'd have certain people there and being represented as such. So I did know a little bit about their story. I knew they were from Detroit. I knew what they did for a living. I knew what they were doing in the music business. What I discovered by this show is that the family aspect of it, the fact that they had a mom and dad both at home trying to do the best that they could and make it accomplish what it needs to accomplish. And then they still turned out to do different things. And they were brothers. So they did it together. So they still tried to keep the same family sort of tie, if that makes sense. So yeah, I knew the story. I knew it so much so that when my people came to me and said they were talking about this BMF and they didn't really, and I was like, are you talking about the people in Detroit? They said, yeah, it's about Detroit. I said, okay, cool. Let me talk to them. And we had a conversation about this. Now, my character in and of itself, Detective Bryant, isn't, I'm probably a collage of many police officers throughout the course of their careers and dealing with what you have to deal with in order to become as highfalutin as they became. So we had to put we continue to put my character together and have him grow and have him deal with his responsibilities and how far he's willing to go in his own personal endeavors and in dealing with Terry and Meech.
So when you did that, I know you played a lot of characters through the years. Was there any particular one that you drew up on, or did you talk to any people, detectives, or how did you?
No, I didn't do it. No, I actually infused it into how I believed he would deal with these situations and how I think because ultimately I don't think he thinks he's a bad guy. I think he thinks he's a guy that's trying to live. And I think he's trying to live as the best he can, given certain parameters of what his job is and certain things he's willing to go outside the lines to and how far he's willing to go. So for me, No, it's about really trying to in-depthly find something body that they threw together and make him a truly three-dimensional human being that you have to deal with. Now, we don't get to do that. We get to start that process out. And then fortunately, we've been afforded the opportunity to get a year or two. And we can spend more time in and of that. But it's really the story of these two boys, their family, and how they started their process to turn it into these big wigs that they turned into. And then, I'm sort of an offshoot of that.
So I'm from Southern California, from Long Beach. So It's interesting that Snoop Dogg is in here. And even with the brains, West Side forever. So to what he brings to the set as well, and with his experience, I know growing up surrounded by gangs in Southern California, I know some of the best people I know were gangsters. So even though they did some pretty rough things, I get the humanity in the story.
Look, absolutely. It doesn't change. They had a code, or have a code. A lot of them have a real code. And, they can be outside things. They can be relatively heinous. And you can have that sort of thing. But then they can still be genuine human beings. My thing is, nobody is exactly one thing. All of us are well-rounded. It's just that how far are we willing to go up different levels of change? And some people, in the endeavors they're doing, they're willing to go all the way. You know what I mean? I always find it interesting when we talk about gangsters and you really realize how close they are to you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's really a thing to me, because this person is. I said, okay, great, but as I mentioned before, we all do a little something every day that we walk across somebody's yard because our car is parked there, so we just walk across the grass, or we cross the street in the middle instead of going to the end of the block, or we roll a stop sign. We don't really stop; we just sort of roll. We're doing it, or we're on our phone while we're driving. We all do a little something, right?
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean a lot unless that rolling stops turn into a car accident, or that phone that you text and turns into something else, right? Then it turns into something else. There's a difference between jaywalking and, burglary, right? So that's what it is. How much further you taking a little piece at a time, but how much further did you turn from just jaywalking to burglary, and then what you're willing to go behind? So I always look at the humanity in every character, even though he may lack it to the outside force. I look at what he's thriving to succeed in, because we're all trying to do something in order to make it work for us. And I always try to tap into that if I can.
So with the character and with them being gangsters and, that whole 80s scene, that gang scene, that partying scene, and bring it up to the time that we're living in now, where everything is a judgment, everything is banishing people. How do you feel this particular movie, or series rather, affects with how people might perceive of the message? Or what is the main message that you want them to take away? Because they can take away and say, well, this is not positive for our community, or this is, even though it's a true story, so it's a retrospect of what happened. What do you want them to take away from this?
Look, I want people to enjoy the show.
Okay.
So I want them to enjoy it. Now, if you want to jump on that bandwagon, and I pointed out before, and if you jumped on this same bandwagon when you saw The Sopranos, you jumped on this same bandwagon when you saw Breaking Bad, then come talk to me. Then we can have a conversation. If you didn't, if you chose to jump on this bandwagon because Black people are in it, then reevaluate what you're doing. Take a look. This is actually a story based on something. And based on something that actually happened. Now, it's loosely, we're not telling everybody's real story. It's not a documentary, but it's based on something. I would love for the people who watch this to enjoy it. And I feel that the response that we've been getting thus far, we have that. We have that group. I want more people to see it. I want people to really catch on to the family that's involved in this story. If you catch on that, you will ride the rest of this out, because you will understand that this was a family, and any family can go wrong. It just takes a couple of things to happen. And, we got people decimated during this pandemic because they lost a parent. That might have been a breadwinner. That this was never the outlook. That wasn't it. Now you've changed, and now there's things you need to do to provide. And the other person hasn't worked for 20 years. And the kids are just really starting to get to where they can do something. And you got to sort of figure it out. There are a lot of things to worry about beyond this show telling this particular story. And for me, I find that intriguing that that's what you want to necessarily jump on.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's a story. It's a part of life. It's the family. We just live in some very interesting times right now where
you ain't said nothing but a word there.
And I love how you said, look at all the gangster movies and the Sopranos and all that, but yet there wasn't a bad or a wagon, okay?
One of the greatest movies ever considered in time is The Godfather. People love Goodfellas. You got all of these other venues, and I'm not saying about this television show. I'm just saying that there are representatives out there that have been celebrated. I don't want to celebrate none of these cats, to be perfectly honest. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying, if you like the art form, and if it's good art, appreciate the good art. We need as many different kinds of representatives out there as we can, but let's not throw trash on this one that's out there. You know what I mean? If you like the art. If you think we're not doing a good job telling the story, then that's something altogether different.
And that's absolutely. I mean, I think that people really need to get back to enjoying the art. I think there's enough pertinent things in this life to worry about. That's just me. I could be wrong.
I'm with you. Look, I'm too old to be.
That's what I think.
You know what I mean?
And I know if you're in it, there's already some good acting going on. So
well, thank you, Kyle.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, definitely, for sure. Speaking of us, we all remember you from the bathtub scene. So
that's true. I get a lot of that, actually. I do.
But the practice and all of that, you're definitely a consummate actor, and I can't wait to see. I saw a little bit of clips here and there what you bring to this role. How was it working with the actual son of one of the main characters?
Well, Lumichi, I mean, he's I think it would be difficult to play your dad in any scenario. But I think the kid put in work. I think we have a lot of young people on this show that are really striving to be, in this business for a long time. But I feel like Little Meech had a different hill to climb, and that you're telling the story about your dad and all of the issues that came up. It's your first time ever acting before. I mean, there are a lot of components to that. And I think the kid has done a good job thus far. I think it's a lot to sort of carry. But I do think the kid is doing the best he can and has done very well thus far.
So did you find yourself mentoring any of the young people on the set? Did they come to you, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, when they came to me, aside from making you feel old, yeah, they have often they've often come, and they've often they've often asked me questions, and we'd work scenes out together, and we talk them through, and they may be a little surprised that I'm doing that, but I don't see why not. My job is to bring the best character I can to the project and make the best story. We're storytellers and tell the best story I can. The better the storyteller I have with me, as well as the best storyteller I am, that's the best story we can tell. So for me, these kids really coming to me because they've either seen me or as many of them like to say, my mom loves you. And I was like, okay, thank you. Appreciate it. They showed a great deal of respect, and I was very appreciative. But on top of that, they were also willing to put in work. And you always want that, you know?
That's good. So just overall, if there was one piece of advice you can give to people coming up, what would that be? What would you say? And what as far as what your journey is, what kept you going?
Well, look, there are so many things I would say because I would never want to shortchange that particular conversation. But if I had to whittle it down for the sake of this, I would say that hard work equals hard work. It don't equal success. What the hard work does is prepare you for that opportunity that you create. And if you take that hard work and blow that opportunity up, that could lead to success. So just thinking, it's not enough just to get enough followers to have longevity. It's not enough, to just say, oh, I saw that guy do it. I think I could do it. My profession is one of the only professions where some people have been successful doing it. So I understand why, where you really think anybody can do it. Most people aren't running around, walking home and saying, I can be a doctor. Most people don't even think they can walk home and, I could run the train. I could run the subway. I could be the conductor. You're not thinking that. You think, I got to put in work in order to prepare myself to be able to do that. That's the same thing with what I do. So that's my little blurb would be hard work equals hard work. It don't equal success. But when you create the opportunity through said hard work, you got to turn that into success. That would be it.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm one that will never say that I can do what you do because I barely remember my name. It amazes me that how actors can remember all these lines. That's why I'm a poet, but I'm not a spoken word artist.
That's good enough. Appreciate it.
So definitely. Well, I thank you. I know it's been a long day, and I thank you for stopping by. Tell people where they can view the series, and if there's anything you want them to know, and what is your next project coming up after this?
So you can see the series on Starz on Sunday night, depending on where you are. So I think it's 8:00. It's 5:00 here on the West Coast, but 8:00 on the East. Starz BMF. I'm actually this, and then I have a upcoming thing on. It hasn't come out yet, but HBO did a thing about the Lakers. And the Showtime Lakers.
Southern California.
Yeah, so that's when Magic came to town. They doing the thing when Magic came to town. So that's probably the next thing you can see me on is BMF this Sunday. But when this all shuts down, that turns around, you'll see me on a piece of that. I think it's a very good show. I hope people enjoy it. I hope they walk away, thinking about these two kids, thinking about the family, and thinking about, this and understanding that there are always consequences to the choices that you make, even if those consequences come later. So I guess that's about it, I think.
You're on Sunday. So
thank you.
Get the word out. Thank you. You have an awesome day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So there you have it. Steve Harris this Sunday on Starz. Check your local listings depending on what time zone you're in. It's a show that you absolutely do not want to miss. This is Renata Ray from DreamSpire TV, and you have an awesome day.